Hi again.
Hey,
Hey.
hey
We're
again.
like,
Well, we say again, but to
we said
them,
again.
hi.
It's up again.
Yeah.
But we
Just
were
accept that
actually
you've
like,
already seen us once today.
yeah, so anyways, happy Wicked Wednesday. We started
It's
out the
Wicked
show.
Wednesday. Yeah, we
It's
just had like a great show and y'all missed it. Sorry.
no, we started the show out like just sending some prayers out to all the people that have been affected by all the storms. Um and it's been a rough week. But anyways, I feel like we don't need to rehash that, but we
They
are
didn't miss
sending out
anything, but
because no one hurt us, but we are sending prayers out. My best friend from high school is hunkering down in Tampa. My family in St. Augustine is also hunkering down. My sister in Fort Lauderdale is also hunkering down. So I am sending out all the love and prayers to my family and friends in Florida. Those that I didn't mention because and there are lots of you. There are lots of my people in Florida, and I'm sorry. It's all out there. Um, I think I started to talk about a little about the what the government's doing with the storms, um, with the seeding, with the all the cloud seeding, and but we'll get into that in just a little bit. We're gonna skip over all that. Kevin had an experience in his house where he heard his son's voice,
yeah,
and
it
it was
was
him.
like 3 nights ago, and it was like 2 in the morning, and he was like well asleep. And I heard him about 3 quarters up the way up the hallway. So I don't know, maybe bathroom stuff, like right there
Mm-hmm.
area, talking. And I was like, dude, you okay? And they'd stop talking. And I was like, so I got up and came and opened the door and nobody was there. And I was like, I guess it's back. So just to make sure, I went to his door and I was like, Chandler, you all right? Chandler. What? What's wrong? I was like, nothing. Go back to bed.
That's fine. It's fine. Dad was just having a mental
Yeah,
breakdown.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine.
I just heard you in the hall. Don't worry. Don't worry. Go back to sleep. It'll be okay. It's just a ghost. It's just a ghost. But but yeah, so that was that. And then there's been a couple just random odd noises. Where you think the dog's into something and you look up and she's like laying on the bed and you're like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, and not like, there's a small critter in the house. It's more like, if my dog's not small, but she's not huge, but if she would actually like slide a box or something, that kind of volume of noise or caliber of, to try to describe what it sounded like. So it's not like a pest of some sort. Um, so we've had a couple of those, and yeah, that's it so far. But it does seem like, and now that I'm thinking about it, it seemed like last fall through winter here was more active, and then it kind of died off for the last like 3, 4, 5 months, and now maybe it's picking back up again. So we'll see. So, what about out there? Anything?
Are you talking about me, like in my house? Because we all
I
know
know
where
where where he's at.
I at.
Because and we talked about that in the show that didn't happen, um, but we know where he's at's haunted.
We do know where he's at. Yes. Um.
Yes, so
I can't.
yeah,
I can't
Ronnie,
say.
I'm so jealous right now.
I can't.
I am in the legendary South Pittsburgh Hospital here in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee.
I love that hospital. That hospital is.
The
Um.
legendary.
It is legendary.
Hmm.
It's legendary, and it's a
Why do you
place
think I
that
said it?
I know, and You know, that hospital in particular, um, that's a place where I went, well, before Ronnie owned it, but it was a place that I got to go many times before my daughter passed. So I have that memory. I have pictures of both of my children little in front of that hospital. But that hospital is a hospital that I will walk. Well, hold on. Let's just go on and bring out again. So Ronnie Dee, he's the boss's bosses. And he's the owner and the
Also
president of
bosses,
Old South Pittsburgh Hospital and Old Historic Haunted Harriman Hospital.
and
Both
both
are
are
close to my heart because
amazing.
I do have the honor to volunteer there. And
I used to.
that
I'm
guy.
coming back. If you'll have me back, I'm coming back. I'm in better health now, Ronnie. So,
Whenever you're ready, door's always
all
open.
right, cool, cool,
So,
cool.
Ronnie, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show. We've had you several times and we love you. And I know exactly where you're sitting right now, and I'm very jealous.
Oh, well,
Yes,
you're
one of my
the one
favorite
who
places.
hang out.
So oh, Lord. Okay. So your hospitals. You got some good stuff going on. People want to go there. People love those hospitals. Your volunteers are like family that dedicate their time there because they have a connection to those hospitals.
Oh, did you ask me a question?
No.
It
No,
was
I guess I
kind of
really didn't.
rhetorical.
I guess I just wanted you to elaborate on your love of the hospital. I didn't ask a question, but
It was like a statement.
no, I mean, I feel like your hospitals speak for themselves, but you are you're the I have words that are hard right now. I'm struggling
Grandpa,
right now. But make the words, Kevin.
I am.
No,
I am.
make the word.
I am the.
You,
Are we voguing it?
maybe if it
Vogue.
works. Yeah.
But your hospitals have a life of their own, but you're their voice, and you
You
are
are.
the perfect voice for those locations.
Well, thank you. I don't know if I'm the perfect voice, but I try really hard to, keep them up, keep them clean, and and listen to our residents that we have here. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm the voice, like I said, but I sure do love what I do.
I have a
Yeah.
question for you
Yes, ma'am.
about Old South.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I feel like we all have those of us that volunteer and those of us who have spent time there have their maybe their spirit that kind of has attached to them, that follows them, that you see a lot more of than others. And like, okay, for me, well, no, I want to hear yours first.
You want to hear my favorite residents in the building?
I think that the residents, I think, it's like people. It's like we are like regular people, like
Uh-huh.
like you and me. Like you and I kind of thought we were like, but now we're like, and so
we, we were
it
we were
feels
never. We just didn't really sit down and talk to each other until this
yeah.
last week. So, yeah.
But we all have our like. I think that the dead is the same way. You either get along with somebody or you don't. But I know that being where you are, and we're keeping you awake, being where you are, like who do you feel like are the residents? And we're speaking at Old South right now, not Harriman. Old South. Who do you think are your people that kind of connect with you?
I think I like Nurse Betty, where I'm at right now, which is the second floor nurses station. She's kind of a sweetheart when she does
She
communicate.
is.
She seems very lighthearted and very caring. So she's kind of one of my favorites. Nellie up on the third floor is kind of another. I think everybody's one of her favorites. when she's having a good day, she's a real sweetheart as well too. And
When she's having a good day.
when she's having a good day,
Let's back that up. Let's say that one more time.
when she's having a bad day, she certainly will let you know that she's having a bad day. I think probably one of my I think probably one of my favorites is probably Dr. Taylor. With his pipe smoking and his presence that he's in the hospital. He's kind of one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
He is my favorite. And I love everybody else that you've mentioned, of course, but Dr. Taylor, I feel like I had an experience with Dr. Taylor before you purchased the hospital, before you came, and I feel like living people, you remember people. Whether they're dead or alive, it's just like when you go back into the hospital and people that you've had. Sorry, y'all. I feel like a hair is touching my face and I don't like that. Maybe it's a ghost. Anyway, so I feel like we all have those people in life. I feel like you have those people in life, and they're those people that kind of stick by you and they hang with you. And it's the same, I think, on the other side, on the other, however wants it. Different people want to call it different things. But I think that those same people, you attract with your personality, with your, if you coincide. I had an experience. Dr. Taylor has followed me before you bought the hospital. I have smelled him. I have run into him, like literally, not literally, but you know what I mean. And then
as literal as it can be.
Right. And then I had a whole experience where, according to someone, and I'm not saying whether it's true or not, that I walked through him.
Oh, wow.
Not intentionally. Dear Lord, baby Jesus, I would never have walked into him intentionally, because that would be very disrespectful. I just didn't see him. It wasn't my fault. I didn't mean to. But since then, he has kind of and I can have not gone there. I've gone to a different hospital and not that hospital, but I go back there and he finds me. I find him. No, I find him. There was that one time that there was, where Kevin will laugh, where I may have been sweeping in a zigzag motion, and it's probably, I'm pointing the wrong way on video, and someone screamed at me. Yeah, you're pointing at the wrong guy. You're pointing at the right guy, Kevin. I'm pointing the wrong way. Someone screamed at me. And I had been there. I had done an overnight, but everybody else had to leave. And I was working and cleaning and I was sweeping. And someone screamed loudly. And for just a second, I thought, well, shit. What am I going to do now? But I also don't feel like, after that, the scream happened, I didn't feel, I was a little uncomfortable. Hence the sideways sweeping, which I think at that point, and I've said it on a show, I described it as a serial killer motion pattern, but that's not really what it was. It was more just, I didn't want to turn my back to wherever the screaming had come from, because I didn't want anyone to sneak up on me.
So as long as you zigzag, you've only got your back at it for just a little bit.
Right. Makes sense, right?
But it works for bears, so it may work. You don't know.
Bears, maybe.
We're still learning a lot in this field.
So, and it was a scream. I don't know what the screaming was about, but also at that time when I felt, I froze. When I heard it, I froze. And I went, okay, Amy, you got a couple of options here. You can try to get all of your personal belongings together in just 1 minute and put away all the things you need to put away and finish the topic at hand. Or
Or you
you
can
can stand
zigzag.
up like a soldier and sweep in a zigzag motion until you get the job that you intended to do completed. And then you pack up all your things and you leave. Mm. On this particular occasion, I was shocked by a guest. Not a guest, by a volunteer who had come in at the same time, had texted me and said they were coming. I expected this person to come up a different staircase than the staircase they came up. And
So you ran in the direction of the real person that you didn't know was in the building.
correct. I
So all of a sudden
actually
they popped
didn't
out.
know I was at the end of where I was going to put away the things that I was working with, and but
In
that's
person.
beside the point. I have my own personal issues, and we won't talk about them. But yeah, no, Dr. Taylor, I think Dr. Taylor has stuck with me for many years. And even before you took over the amazing things that you have done for the hospital, that guy has been that guy has that guy has protected me from a couple of things. And I'm grateful to that man. Anyways, but the hospitals that our guest owns are amazing pieces of history. And not only is he allowing the paranormal community, friends and families and foes and all those, he allows them
And
to come into
foes.
his hospital. Well, we all have there's all dicks out there, let's not lie. But he allows these amazing don't did you just make your eyes all big, Ronnie? Anyways, but there are a lot of haters in all the paranormal community. It's not just what we're doing right now. There are
I'll give you
people that
that.
hate. There are the Jesus people that hate us for what we do. There are the people that just hate us because they want to hate us. But in actuality, like people like Ronnie are preserving these pieces of history that most people want to just level. He is bringing back some of the history of these small towns. South Pittsburgh is a small town. If you blink,
Mhm.
you miss it. If you want to do anything on Sunday, well, oopsie. But
Oopsie.
he's also bringing back like these amazing hospitals like Harriman. Like Harriman is a huge that you've taken on these huge accomplishments. And for that, I am like,
No, it's because we have you're part of that accomplishment. Rhonda's part of that accomplishment. Brooke's part of that accomplishment. We all do it together. So yeah, we all accomplish it at the same time, and I think that's what's really, really important. Is there's a lot of us who, really put a lot of hard work, sweat, and tears into the buildings, and that's what we, I think that's what makes it so important to us to keep the hospitals going, because that's all volunteer. It's all what we like to do, right?
Mhm.
yeah, I love that you're preserving these buildings that would maybe otherwise just either have been just left to just rot
Or
or
demolished.
Mhm.
demolished.
Yeah, that's what's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
And
Well,
I think
and
people forget
go
about
ahead.
the history, and you got to remember the history of all these buildings. They weren't just hospitals. A lot of these, well, like Old South, people lived there. After the close of the hospital, people lived there. People had their lives there. People
Mhm.
did all these things, and that energy is forever trapped
Right,
in these
absolutely.
hospitals.
I
You
wouldn't
know,
say trapped, but it's forever there.
mm,
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I don't think
yeah.
anybody, and let me back. I want to add one thing to what she's saying from a personal standpoint is I respect the hell out of the fact that you are preserving these locations. But what I respect the most about it is, and you've already said it, I don't know, a time or two, at least once, and I think you've said it twice, if not more, actually, is you don't refer to it's a haunted location, but
What?
the way what?
It's haunted?
Yeah, but it's and with Old South Pittsburgh, it comes with its own lore, its own whatever, and some of it's accurate, some of it's not.
And Ronnie
But
has
you
fought like
don't
hell to make the real stories be the real
exactly,
stories,
exactly.
not the
But you
bullshit that
don't
we were
ride on
all
the
fed
coattails.
prior to Ronnie.
You don't ride on the coattails
Bless
of
you.
this is like balls to the wall haunted. You refer to the spirits that are there as people that live there, people that residents. And to
They
me,
are residents.
in that, I don't know, that's the part that I respect the absolute most is you haven't lost sight of the fact that these, especially with the way the paranormal community's gone over the last decade plus, with the whole what can you do to get a response, what how I don't know, how confrontational, how whatever. And we've lost sight of the fact that ghosts are people without a body. And so the fact that you running two locations that are as haunted as they are, and you still refer to the spirits that are there as residents
They
is,
are
I mean, that's
residents.
commendable. That is absolutely commendable, and I respect the shit out of you for that. Um, and it's, I could talk from now till next week's show about that, and not be able to convey the level of respect that I have for that. It's from the beginning of when I started investigating this, a viewpoint that I had, and I've tried to instill in my team and whoever's investigated with us. And so to see somebody in the position where they could go, I mean, not to say that you're not saying it's not haunted and all that stuff, but at the core of it, these are people.
We all know it's haunted.
And a good day or a bad day, not evil and not this and that. It's a person having a bad day. It's a person having a good day. And dude, I mean, that's just amazing. And so, kudos, ultimate respect, love you to death, always have. But yeah, dude, you're doing it right in my book.
Well, thank you guys. Yeah, I mean, I do really truly think they are residents. I think they, and Amy said they're trapped here. I think they choose to be here. I
I do
think
too.
that they,
I
I think
think
that's
so too. Like I said, trapped, but I agree. Like I think it's like, but now I also have to say that I think that some of it is a little bit of a residual,
Mhm.
Mhm.
which
Oh, I
I
agree.
said
Yeah.
described as trapped, but
Right,
that's not really the right wording. It's just like a
right,
residual. It's like an energy imprint that just
Is
repeats.
there.
right. Well, and I 100%. I mean, when you're in the
Not
hospital and you have a nurse or a doctor doing, the same thing over and over each and every day, that residual energy does get trapped in the building. And I
yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
think about it. I mean, a nurse every half hour does her rounds, and that's kind of ingrained into the building, and that energy remains.
And you
So yeah,
talk about somebody that's been there for years, a nurse that's been there for years, a
right,
doctor that's been there for years.
right.
Like,
Well, and a lot of them are community. They're all part of the community. So not only are they here for years, but a lot of them live right down the road. I mean, some of them live right across the street. So you're talking about
Mhm.
people who spent a lifetime here working, making us healthy, and like
Well,
a lot.
taking care of friends.
Yeah, and taking care,
yeah,
especially in these little communities.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Everybody knows everybody in these little towns. I'm learning that real quick.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Yeah.
Us
So
So
country
have
folks are
have you
different.
That northern guy. Um,
Here we go.
I'm sorry.
man,
Sorry. I'm just
have you had, and we may, have looked to jump into this later in the show, but has there been anything recently in either of the two locations that like jumps out at you as a not an oh my god moment, but a check this out moment, or a would you believe, or just anything that just stands out recently, with the residents?
No, not really. Usually when I'm here, we're usually working and we're busy, and I leave the investigating to Amy and the rest of the team to do that. Um, so typically I don't do a whole lot of investigating in the buildings. I mostly do work. I think it is kind of funny though. We were having a conversation just the other day, and I think I don't remember if I was here or Harriman. It was one of the two locations, but I was sweeping and doing what Amy was doing. I think I was sweeping or mopping or doing something, but basically somebody whispered in my ear and told me I wasn't doing it right. And I was like, just me. And I was like, oh, okay. So what am I not doing right? But it's
do it yourself then.
Yeah, I've had a lot of those instances where I'll be working around the building and somebody will tap me on the shoulder and I turn around and look and there's like nobody there. I think probably one of the things that stand out the most, and I tell this story to a lot of people, is we were at O, and it was, I think, last year or the year before last, and we were getting ready for a movie. Hollywood was coming in, and we had to change some lights. They wanted LEDs up. They wanted these lights that they can change the color temperature. So, of course, and I know, Kevin, you've never done this before as a man, step on that top rung of the ladder that says do not
Never.
step. Never, right? So
it's a suggestion, not a command. So
I was stepping on that.
Ronnie Dee.
Well, I was stepping on that top rung and I was putting light bulbs up, and I felt somebody grab the back of my leg and tell me to be careful. And I turned around to look down, and there's like, pardon me, there's like nobody there. So kind of got me a little, I was like, whoa, came down off the ladder, kind of sat down, and I'm sitting down in the lobby, and I feel this kind of energy go by me, and the seat next to me kind of makes a little squeak, and I hear, glad you're okay. And I'm just like, that's just really cool. But I think as building owners, I think we kind of experience stuff on a regular basis. I mean, we just kind of blow it off. I mean, it's just so common now. We'll get a lot of things like, there's a lot of times I'll come in the morning and I'll unlock the door and I hear, good morning, Ronnie. I'm the only one in the building. And you're just kind of looking around like, good morning. When we leave at night, I say good night to everybody. And so, like I said, I think they get comfortable with you. I think they kind of know, what you're doing with the building, that kind of thing. So, I think there's a lot of good that goes on. And like you said, there's a lot of residents here, I think, that have a lot of respect for what we do and like communicating with us and like our team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well,
I think that they're respectful of, because we're respectful.
Oh, yeah.
As a team that goes in and fixes things, I mean, I know, like, when I go in, I'm always like, hello, friends, because,
Right.
the downfall of my life is going to be I hug something that I shouldn't.
You? What?
But, yeah, we all know. We all know. We've already, like, written it on my freaking tombstone, okay? You hug something that you shouldn't have.
One hug too many is what it's going to say.
One hug too many, yeah. Because I mean, when I walk in to either location, I always say, hello, friends. It's just like my hello. And I'm like, hope everybody's having a good day. And, that kind of thing. Like, I don't ever go in like I am like, hey, nobody's going to scare me today. No, because who wants to fucking talk to anyone like that? I don't want to be talked to like that. I want somebody to come in and be like, hey, friends, how can I help you today?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Rhonda, hi. She said, hello, my sweet friends. So
I can't see her. Why can't I see the comments?
Well, that one will pop up in a minute.
Oh, wait, hold on. We got Sana too. Sana, are you still here? We love you. Thank you for listening, Rhonda. Rhonda is Rhonda is one of the most amazing humans that I know. Rhonda is this woman who has maybe the biggest balls of all of us sitting here in this little group right now. And this woman will walk around this hospital like Harriman. And Harriman, let me tell you, it's in its own right, is its own amazing entity. It has beautiful places. It has this amazing history. Like its history is like layer upon layer upon layer of history. It's a beautiful place. But this woman, Rhonda Whalen, who was a savior of all dogs and cats and squirrels and whatever, she is Harriman. She knows Harriman. She breathes Harriman. She was born there. She knows family that was born, died, all the things there. Rhonda is, love you, Rhonda. Thank you for listening. Because she is an amazing human. And she deserves all the love. So we love you, Rhonda. Thank you. But this woman is not scared of anything. Not a goddamn thing. And this is why we are explicit. This woman is not scared of anything.
She's not.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Nope, you're not wrong. That woman walks down the halls in the middle of the darkest of all dark, and yep, couldn't do it.
And she's like, love you. We love you too, because my God, you are my hero. That woman is my hero.
She's everybody's hero.
She's the sweetest, sweetest, sweetest. We love you too, Rhonda. Thank you. It's, hold on. She said it's what the cameras catch blows the mind.
Yeah. Yeah, she watches the inside cameras pretty religiously, and they sent me a clip a couple of weeks ago that was from Harriman in an area that we're working on, and you could literally see legs walking. Like, it's the freakiest thing I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, a pair of legs from like waist down. And then earlier in the clip, she's got a garbage bag that's on top of a shopping cart. And you could actually see the bag lift up and fall to the ground. Not just kind of lift up. I mean, it's allergies. It's just amazing what we caught.
Bless you. You get 3, and then I'm going to have to ask Brooke to spray you with holy water.
But it's really amazing what she sees on cameras. I mean, yeah, and she'll send them to me. I'm like, whoa. But this in particular, like I said, I think it was the middle of the morning, and you could literally see somebody walking one way. They kind of stop, turn around, walk back the other way, this way, and then just kind of disappear. And
really,
you don't get to see. You see pretty much like the most defined part of the spirit. A resident was the legs, like the waist down. You could actually see it moving, and then as it goes on, the resident just kind of turns into blurriness and then just kind of fades off. It was really, really wild. I mean, she showed me, and I couldn't figure it out, because I was like, well, it's just pixelating, it's the camera pixelating. But the problem is that you can make out when a camera pixelates, it kind of pixelates in one area. This actually walked, and you could see the disturbance in like the video.
So it's not just like one spot of legs.
It walks like a whole hall, like half of a hallway. Yeah, it walks like half of a hallway, stops, turns around, walks back, and then just like I said, then turns around, walks the other way, and just kind of disappears. It was pretty wild. Yeah, and I would say my guess would be probably child age, because
really
looking at the side with the waist and everything, the waist was kind of below, maybe a little bit below the bottom of the basket of the shopping cart, or I think you Southern would call them buggies. But somewhere right on there.
Oh, Mr. Wow. Southern man, really?
So I would say, putting the head probably a little bit higher than the buggy. So somebody probably around 3.5, 4 feet, probably.
I think it's really
That's
kind
so
of.
cool.
I'm gonna have to say, I think it's kind of cute that you said that. You Southern people.
You buggy. That's because whenever I go to the shopping center, I'm like, "Can I have a shopping cart?" And they all look at me dumbfounded, like, "What's a shopping cart?"
It's fun
So then I
because
see
you
a
know
buggy,
you.
and they're like, "Oh,
I'm
look
gonna
at the
have to
buggy."
say, aren't you like a good part of your time a Southern boy?
Oh, I'm down here more than I'm up there now. So yeah,
Okay, so let's learn the words.
I know. So I'm acclimating as quick as I can. Hey, I went from you all to y'all.
I was getting ready
Oh,
to ask that
Yeah,
if you made the y'all switch
I do
yet.
the y'all, and I get yelled at because us Northerners we call it Louisville, and so now it's got to be Louisville. So Louisville.
Louisville.
Louisville. Yep.
Yeah,
It's
so I'm
Louisville.
Louisville. So I'm learning some of
Louisville.
the southern accents. It's challenging to, but we're working on it. Because sometimes I've got to stop and say, where? Where are we going? Where are we going? Louisville. Where the hell Louisville? But my favorite of all is when I ask to have the oil changed in my car. And I'm like, no, it's oil. And all you guys down here call oil.
Oh,
Oil. Like
Oil.
I'm gonna
I gotta
boil
get
my
my
eggs.
old changed.
Boil
My
my
old
eggs.
changed.
Bull.
Boil. I'm gonna boil my eggs.
Boiled eggs.
And you're gonna have to just like push away a little bit of the northern ways
I'm working on it.
and just be southern. A nice southern boy.
Southern.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
You can get your oil changed.
Oh yeah.
You can get your oil changed and wait a minute, hold on. Here's a question. There's
Okay.
a tree. I have two of them next to my house.
Okay.
They make a nut. It's about this big.
Oh, a pecan?
Okay. I'm
Pecan.
okay with that.
Pecan. Not a,
I'm okay
Not a
with that, but
pecan.
I know a lot of Southern people are like, it's a pecan. No, I'm sorry, I'm not peeing in it.
well, I've heard pecan, right? Pecan, pecan.
Mhm.
Pecan. I call it a pecan.
Pecan.
I call it a pecan.
Pecan.
That's a
Pecan.
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 But we're not calling it a pecan because nobody's peeing in it. I don't want to eat a nut that somebody's peed in.
Oh
That's
Lord.
why are we calling it a pecan? A pecan is something completely different than a pecan.
Well, a pecan, isn't that what you use in the car when you're taking long trips and you don't want to stop at the rest
Yeah.
station?
Every
Yeah,
trucker
like
has
if
a
you're
pecan.
if you're in a hurricane, you're trying to like get away. You're using a pecan,
Right.
not a
pecan.
pecan. Nobody's peeing in a pecan.
That's true.
But if you're peeing in a pecan, you're screwed anyway. So
Well, yeah, pecans are kind of small.
yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna distract this because I'm gonna tell you, like, okay, and I know you're not probably gonna say, but do you have a favorite hospital?
Oh yeah, South Pittsburgh is my favorite. I'm sorry, Rhonda, but yeah, Pittsburgh will always be my favorite. It's
I'm
I
with
mean,
you. Too.
it's my first location I ever purchased. Harriman's a beautiful location as well too, but it's kind of and as parents, we never admit this to our children or anything.
No, we don't.
But for a fact that the firstborn is always the most special. I mean, you ask anybody, and they're going to tell you that the firstborn is always the most special one, and then the second one is a little less special, and the third one we forget about them. But yeah, Old South Pittsburgh was my first, so it's kind of my favorite. I guess just by the fact that it was my first. And Harriman is really neat.
First time.
What was that?
It's your first time, and you don't get to say that very often.
No, and it holds a very special place in my heart. Oh, Amy, somebody needs to control this woman.
There's no control in that.
We all hold a special place for our first time.
We do. So, Amy, what was your first time? You brought it up.
I didn't mean to like that.
You started it.
I'm just here for the inappropriate comments and the inappropriate humor. That's
Well, now's your chance for a
I
really
told you that the
inappropriate
other
one.
night. I think I told you that like a couple weekends ago. I was like, I'm just
You
here
did.
for the inappropriate commentary.
I know. So bring it on. So where was your first time, Amy? The really easy answer on that would have been the lighthouse in St. Augustine.
But I haven't done the St. Augustine Lighthouse.
Well, it's an example.
I did think you.
I know what you're saying.
It.
No, I'm gonna have to say that, like, if I have to choose a favorite, it would be South Pittsburgh.
But was that your
110%?
What was that your first? So we're asking the question of what was your first?
That was my that was my first. I'm gonna have to say the most significant investigation that I have been on that has stuck with me is South Pittsburgh. Next, I'm gonna have to move on to Hales Bar.
Oh, Hales, huh?
Third would be Harriman. But
really?
hold on, I may have skipped one in there.
Hey, Dev.
I did, didn't I? I'm gonna go with South Pittsburgh, and then like my family that's I'm praying for right now in St. Augustine used to own Uniques and Antiques Collectibles on Avali Street in St. Augustine, which is the oldest.
Right next door to the Spanish Military Hospital.
Yes, right next door to the Spanish Military Hospital. And so, for those people that own, that's my family, and they are like, I'm looking at y'all, but I'm also have the news on in the background because that's my family, and they live in St. Augustine, and I am praying for them right now, and I'm praying for everybody in St. Augustine. But so I'm gonna go with number 1, South Pittsburgh. Number 2, Antiques and Uniques Collectibles.
Number 3, Harriman.
Number 3 is definitely Harriman.
And number 4, Hales.
Number 4 is Hales. I did have weird experience at Hales. Like
I did Hales a couple of times, and Hales I had some pretty. The problem with Hales is every time I went, it rained, and you know the what do you call it? The tunnels would always.
I'm gonna tell you that my most strongest or meaningful experience I had at Hales was not in the dam.
Oh, really?
No, it was one of those land cabins.
Okay.
Because if you look at the history of Hales Bar, where they have the land cabins that you can rent is actually where the hotel used to sit.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a school right there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I haven't. The cemetery at Hales is also very changing. Because now it's a distillery, but in the place where we actually like could go into at that point, you could go into the dam, you know, and you could go up to the places where the people had their lockers that work
where the turbines used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had some experiences there. I did have an experience in a tunnel with some footprints that didn't look human. I will be glad to share those with anyone who requests them. But I think that experience-wise, and I know Zaina, if she's still listening, Zaina was with me, and we had rented a cabin because I was a special guest at an event to be there, like for people to be like, "Oh, Amy, know who?" Like I'm like, hold on, saddle up, friends. If I'm your tour guide. No, that's not true because I am funny. But anyway, no, I think our biggest experience in going back, and we actually set recorders up in the cabin that we were renting. Um, and it was a big cabin. It was like a 3-bedroom cabin, but it was actually on the spot where the hotel would have been back in the time. And the recordings that we got from that were crazy. Like it was like and it wasn't like an intelligent haunting. It was just like it was just replaying this moment in time. It was like it sounded like you were in a hotel restaurant or a hotel bar, and you could just hear like glasses clinking, silverware clinking, plates, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it was just like that. And we didn't listen to it. Like we had the time that it was recording, we were actually in the dam, and I was doing a like special guest bullshit, whatever. But I was doing all that, and at the whole time we set this recording up to like just for our own where we were sleeping. We wanted to know where we were sleeping. It didn't matter what I was doing. It mattered where we were sleeping, what we're gonna hear. Um, During that night, after the recording, we stopped that recording. We started a new recording. There were multiple sounds of like and we all went to sleep in our own separate rooms, but the toilets were flushing. People were walking around. People were clinking glasses. People were like, it was almost like they were having their own like party, and that's fine. That I mean, but that residual part of that for me was substantial. Like I think that Hales Bar is an amazing place to visit, and I think that if you're going to go there, I suggest a cabin. And I also suggest you set up a recorder because you're going to get more than what you thought you were going to get. Like trying to go after you did this whole event and you did all these things and you're going to get bed to go night night in your cabin, and never did it get quiet in your cabin. Like all the people that were with me, the living people that were with me, everybody had gone to we had like sat up, like talked, we'd watched TV, whatever. We all went to our separate bedrooms to go to sleep. And it was never quiet. So, Hills Bar. It's something.
And that was Suggestions with Amy. To the next. I got that.
But I do like Old South Pittsburgh. I have pictures of my children in front of that hospital before you bought it. I have a picture of my daughter, just of maybe like 6 months before I lost her. So that hospital has a huge part of my heart there. And so when I'm there, I always say hello to the guests. I always greet them. I'm like, hello, friends. And I just go in like that. And I try to do that everywhere I go. But yeah, I want to know, Ronnie.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to choose Harriman.
Okay.
Have you ever had something happen to you in Harriman that has scared you? And I don't want you to pull out some things like, well, it's got frozen. We had to do the pipe. Now I'm talking about spiritually.
No, probably not really scared. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, not really. I don't think scared is the right word. Uncomfortable,
No?
yeah, but scared. I'm very uncomfortable at times, you know. And I know cleaning out the cafeteria, we were down there, and it was it was a couple of us. And I said something like, "How come I don't get any of these awesome paranormal experiences that Rhonda gets?" And all of a sudden, you hear this voice in the kitchen that says, "Because you're an asshole." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks. That was real nice of you." No, I don't
Don't
think
you
that
like
really
that?
scared me. It was kind of like, I'm like, really? Here I am scrubbing, working, blah blah blah. So
I'd be
somebody
like,
does.
hold on, I'm trying to fix your place,
Yeah,
bruh.
I know somebody doesn't like me over there. So, but no, I think I still think that
What about
humans.
an Old South then?
What was that?
What about Old South?
No, really nothing here. I would say before I owned the building, I used to investigate here a lot prior to owning it, and it was always scary to me. But it was kind of scary because the old owners told you like these stories that
Right.
you're
Exactly.
you're coming around the corner looking for things that they saw in the building that were never here. So you're kind of always like around. Yeah, no, nothing really like people laugh at me because Old South Pittsburgh, like I can do here what Rhonda can do at Harriman. I can walk these halls in the dark anytime and not have a flashlight and not be scared at all.
At Old South.
At Old South, but Harriman, I'm not comfortable doing that. No,
That's
but
me.
but like I said, it's not really that I'm
That's me.
scared. I think it's more, just uncomfortable. So and Harriman is such a big building that you never know what you're going to run into around the next corner. I mean, that building is just huge.
It really is.
Huge. And
Yeah.
I don't think that people realize, like, when they pull up, how big that building actually is.
Right.
Because I can
It's
tell you,
deceiving.
and I can tell you from Kevin's point of view too. The first time that Kevin and I pulled up, we were like, "Oh, this is small."
Yep. And then you cross over into the old part of the building. It's like, holy cow.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! This
It's like
thing is
4 times bigger
huge.
than it looks.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
But
And like I said, it's gigantic. And the thing is even after owning it for 3 years now, going on 4 years or whatever, I mean, I still get lost in that building. Like still. I mean, yeah, it's just a huge building. And it's really active. I mean, that building is just insanely active. Like I would put it up with any of the other huge locations that are claiming to be active or claim they have the same activity. That building is just off the hook. I mean, like I said, well, Amy, there's that you're there, and it's just nonstop. I mean, everything from footsteps to voices to, I mean, everything. It's kind of one big spirit show underneath the roof.
1 minute you're locked in the bathroom, and 1 minute you're not.
Oh
Yeah, it Harriman was one where I didn't think that with the I don't know, the grandness of Old South Pittsburgh and walking into Harriman, and I was like, this is really neat. This is really nice. I love the hospital, for what it is. But it's not going to be Old South Pittsburgh. And after spending time there, I was like, this hospital has the potential to surpass Old South Pittsburgh, or at least catch it.
Yeah.
Just because after being in there, it's one that kind of grabs you. It's deceiving not only in its size but in what's going on in it. And I was like, it's kind of right up there with Old South Pittsburgh for me. I love both of
So
them.
different.
Well,
What?
Harriman is just so I don't know
Different.
what like pure looking, because it's so clean and
Because it's the town that Temperance built.
I just think it's really kind of neat because with South Pittsburgh, it's a cool building, but Harriman, you can see the generational medical in there.
And there's parts that look like it just closed down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
one of the additions I think was built in the 80s. So you get to
Mhm.
see that 80s, hospital look. But then you go into the old ERs and you got the 50s ERs. So it's
The
kind of
Yeah,
neat.
ERs, the
Yeah.
ERs are
Sorry.
beautiful. Let me interrupt
yeah.
you, Ronnie, but this is your hospital, but those ERs are fucking spectacular. The
Are you talking
tile,
about,
and
the
everybody knows I'm
ERs or the OR? No,
weird.
those are the ORs. The ORs are
Oh,
spectacular.
I'm sorry. I said ER,
I
didn't I?
spoke to, yeah.
ORs. No,
Yeah.
you're correct. ORs are beautiful. The tile that's in there is impeccable. And
Yeah.
I am regardless of my ghost thing that I have, because we all know I got a ghost problem. But I love the old history, and the tile that's in those ORs is
Gorgeous.
amazing.
Yeah. I was with you when we walked into that, and she was like,
Perfect.
Yeah, they're
"Oh my God."
and
Yeah,
it's
it was.
Yeah, that's how I am. I'm like, holy darn
well,
it.
it's kind of neat because we looked at a couple other hospitals as well, and we noticed that a lot of the ORs have green tile in them. So we actually looked it up online, and Harriman was one of the reasons why we realized that they actually used green tiles in all of the old ORs back in the 50s and 60s and 70s because it was the easiest on a doctor's eyes when he was looking at blood. And then he'd look up, like for a second, look down. And sometimes when they're doing surgeries, like a nanosecond is the difference between life and death. Well,
Right?
they found green was actually when you look from blood to green back to blood, there was no adjustment period in your eyes focusing on the task at hand. So they used the green balls for that specific reason. And yeah, I think it was kind of neat. I think it was actually a Navy doctor who came up with that back in like the 40s, like late 40s or early 50s. And so all the hospitals that were being built at that point in time all used green tiles for that exact reason, because it was more soothing and it was easier on the doctor's eyes when they took a break from looking at the patient to going back to the patient. It's kind of a neat little medical tidbit that we learned as a result of owning Harriman.
But if you look at like me as a weird person that loves old history and loves that color of tile is not made anymore. It's very hard to come by. If you want to replace the tile, if you want to say, some weirdo like me is like, hey, I would love to have that tile in my bathroom. And everybody else is like, we don't do that anymore. But it is beautiful and it is impeccable. And it's like, it's never like nobody's ever touched it. Like, you have this amazing piece of history that no one's ever tried to destroy or graffiti or do anything to. It's beautiful, it's impeccable, and you just don't really find that much anymore.
Right.
Mhm.
So all of
Yeah,
our
I agree.
listeners out there, please don't break my tiles off the wall.
No, please don't,
No,
because I
God,
will
no.
hunt you down. Me, I will find you because there's a video. And if you hurt the tile, I will hurt you. I shouldn't say that. That's probably a bad thing. But no, really, don't
It's
F with the
documented now.
tile
So
because I will find you. That tile is impeccable, and that's the tile that
it's the way it needs to stay.
It's pretty. It's really a pretty OR.
Mhm.
it's beautiful.
But
And it's never even been touched.
Right. It looks brand new.
it does look brand new. It's absolutely gorgeous. When you walk in there, it's like,
Well, and
oh,
what's really
wow.
neat too is the medicine cabinets being built into the wall where they would keep, the serums and I guess whatever they used to put back in those cabinets back. But those are even intact and
Those
still
are
in there.
all still there. It's like if
Mhm.
you could just drop a body in there and do surgery. if you had all the things. Like, that's how it looks, and it's beautiful.
Hopefully they don't drop the body in there.
I'm gonna get Amy all of the equipment she needs to do surgeries now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Drop bodies.
You have to
Dropping
get her like a little nurse's
them off.
outfit and so yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
are you wearing
But
today? Because I'm about to drop the end. Nah.
yeah,
No, it's
there you
just
go. She'll
they're
be in a minute.
beautiful. And the fact that you're saving this beautiful piece that's not, we can't find that anymore.
No,
It's not
No.
around. People don't want to
Yeah.
save history anymore. So not only are you saving for the paranormal community these buildings that obviously have this energy attached to them, you're actually saving a part of history that we don't see anymore. And so I think, for me, although I am at heart a paranormal investigator, I am a paranormal investigator. I'm a paranormal questioner. I want to know all the things. Even before I lost a child, and I don't know what happens after you die after I lost a child. I still continued on my journey of what happens. And to go to these amazing places that you have put your money and time and energy into preserving these buildings so that people can understand and people can see it and people can go for themselves and investigate and find these things, to me is top notch. um
Mhm.
you could have been doing this and to, like, I don't know, buy a fucking $1 million
Million
condo.
dollar condo.
But instead, you are choosing to help preserve history and to make it a place for paranormal investigators and paranormal people that are curious to go and try to find out what happens. Because that's what we're all doing. That's what
Right.
all of us are doing. Is
Right.
we're all trying to figure out what happens. Where do we go? What
Mhm.
happens when we die? Do we linger? Do we stay? Are we connected somehow? And that's what all of us are trying to do. You, Ronnie, I can't. This is bad for me. No. Okay, here we go. I can do it.
That's really
This guy.
forward.
This
There
guy
you
right here.
This is why I could never be an actor. I'd get
This guy right here
go. Really.
is the one that is making it all something for all of us to enjoy. So if
Mhm.
you're new to listening to our show, if you're new to Ronnie, if you're new to either of these hospitals, please check these hospitals out, because this man is trying to preserve history, not just to preserve history, but he's trying to make it so that for a place for people like us, paranormal investigators, people who have spent our lives trying to find out what happens when we die. Where do we go? Are we still there? Well, this guy is making it so that we can all go back and visit and try to find that out. Do any of us ever know until we die? Nah. No, we don't really know. But we can just collect as much as we can just to kind of get a hint of what happens when we die. We're all just
Mhm.
collecting evidence. But Ronnie, one of the things I do appreciate about you, and I do think is amazing about you, is that you're welcome to listen to what anyone has to tell you about either of your hospitals. Like, hey, this is what happened to me here, and this is what happened to me there, and whatever. And you're completely open to listen to people's experiences. Whereas there's a lot of places, and I'm not going to be a dick about it, but there are a lot of places that don't want to hear what you find out about their location.
They're like, yeah, it's haunted.
Yeah. Good
Oh,
for you. Oh,
I,
good. Did you find a
Move on.
ghost? Good for you.
I love hearing.
Next, please.
I love hearing the stories. That's what makes it fun. I mean, see, I
Mhm.
think that's what's really I guess is the owner of the locations. To me, that's what really makes it worthwhile is when somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, this is an experience in your location. This is where it happened. This is." I think that to me, that's I don't know. That's just really awesome when somebody has that experience. And when we have public investigations or we have a private overnight and people don't get the activity that they want, it kind of bothers me too because I'm like, I really wish you would have had a better experience. But I think it's really funny too, though, is like
They don't
sometimes
perform on command.
I think it's really funny because we were even talking about it. Like somebody would come down and be, yeah, somebody just touched my hair and they whispered in my ear and I got this great EVP, but it was a slow night. Like, dude, what else do you want? It's like it's got whispered in your ear by an disembodied voice.
Is
You
that
got
not enough for you?
yeah,
Like
you got
that
it.
would be enough for me.
You got your hair rubbed. I mean, a lot of people don't have those experiences ever, and you're got one of those really cool experiences. And this is Amy's dining room, just in case you don't know. We're to her refrigerator right now. We're gonna probably what are we grabbing, Amy? Let's open up that refrigerator.
Kitchen.
Let's open that refrigerator. Let's see what we got to eat today, Amy. So here we go.
I'm sorry, y'all. I
This,
wanted to take you with me so you wouldn't like.
this is called paranormal dining. So what do we got in the refrigerator, Amy?
Yeah.
Scrambled eggs and bacon tonight.
I got some deer meat. Deer meat? No.
He's like, no. But while she's cooking, one of the things I did want to say about Harriman is, I was starting to allude to it, when I was talking about kind of the, not necessarily the comparison in the two, but I was referring to the two of them. One of the things that I think that is special about Harriman is Old South Pittsburgh came with a history.
Correct.
Harriman is one that I think it's more than enough to stand on its own in any arena. But what makes it more special than Old South Pittsburgh is it has the chance to write its own history.
It's on a clean slate. Right.
And so I think that it's kind of like the in Aladdin, are you the diamond in the rough?
Right.
I think Harriman is kind of the diamond in the rough. It's one that I think you lucked out on. But Old South Pittsburgh will always be Old South Pittsburgh, thank God.
Right.
Thank God.
But yeah, but Harriman has the chance to be almost that and more, only because it's unbelievably active. But it has the chance because, again, thank God it's under your guidance. It has the chance to write it in the right arena. It's the right way.
Right.
And so I think that, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if in 50 years I won't be here, but if I was still here, that, top notch investigation destination, Harriman. Just because it's so. You okay?
I feel like I'm watching a Top Gun movie, and she keeps doing flybys. She's requesting a flight negative, and she's
yeah. You don't quit buzzing the tower, Maverick. But But yeah, it's I don't know. Like I said, Old South Pittsburgh is always going to be Old South Pittsburgh, and it's unbelievably special to me. So I'm not trying to take that away. I'm just trying to say that I think Harriman, because it's you that brought that location to the public eye. I think that has a chance to be what Old South Pittsburgh never got the chance to be. Um, Now, back to Old South Pittsburgh, thank God you came in there and kind of changed the dialogue. This story's not right. This story's not right. This, oh my God, this story is so far off that whatever. We're here to clear the air about this. Um, and you make it a point. Here we go again.
And what
Doesn't
an
that does
amazing
look
thing
kind of
they
like
have done
Maverick
for
in
South
the
Pittsburgh.
where
I'm
you're
so
looking like at him piloting the
sorry.
plane? Wow.
Here we are.
Right. But
One.
you do take the time to kind of set the record straight when you have people come in. And you may have heard this and this and this, but oh, I'm sorry, I forgot my camera was way down there. But this story is what? It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all crack me up.
Oh, this way.
Welcome to the shit.
Anyway. But do you know what I'm saying? I think that's it's nice that you're telling the real stories now, and you're correcting the stories that for years were told that weren't right, and some of them were, I don't want to say blasphemous, but
There were some
they
shitty
weren't fair
stories
to
told. Oh,
people.
and let me. I'm sorry to
Oh,
interrupt you
good.
because I know you're on a rant, Kevin. But I want to bring this
That was
up.
the end of it.
Okay. I was watching the TikTok because
Rabbit holes.
I'm trying to not be sad. So I've gone down multiple rabbit holes on the TikTok right now. One of them, I did have to defend South Pittsburgh. And I did go in a very sweet way because I can be sweet. I can be a real dick if I need to be, but I was very sweet with this woman because she does do a lot of fun TikToks about different places around Tennessee. But she told some stories that were not true about Jim.
Ugh.
And I corrected her in a nice way. And that was one thing. Thank you for just a moment bringing that up, because I actually saved this because I wanted to bring it up to Ronnie on the show. But anyway, she was telling a story about Jim, and that he was like the janitor and blah blah blah. And I was like, mm-mm. So I corrected her in a very nice way, and she came back with me, "Thank you." She's like, "I've heard different
Really?
stories." And yeah, and so she was very nice, but I just, I just happened to come across it because I watched this lady, because she talks about all these different places in Tennessee that are haunted, but then she brought up South Pittsburgh, and I was like, hold on, I need to know how much of this story that you're telling is true.
The claws came out.
Mm-hmm. Because even though, I wasn't there at the beginning when you first bought the hospital. I was there prior, and I've been there after, and that hospital speaks to me, and I have some residents there that I respect and take care of, and I was not going to let anyone talk bad about Jim anymore, because that happened for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't care for that, so I corrected her.
No, and there were a lot of really shitty stories told about Jim, and
Yeah.
it's really heartbreaking because, after Candace and I spent almost 2 days at a hotel reading his biography, basically, It's night and day. I mean, what was being told and what the truth was is, God, some of it was so far off. And you said it was kind of disheartening because I used to come to the hospital prior to owning it too. And the stories that people are telling online are the same stories I was told.
And you thought that
Mhm.
was the
And I
truth?
it was the truth. And then, like I
Yeah.
said, and then we go through and we read his, as we read his emails, we read his communications back and forth with his daughter. I got into his personal life with him and his brother, and by dissecting what we learned and what was told, it was just so wrong. It was just so wrong. I mean, and the man really was a very respectable individual and worked his ass off. I mean, literally worked his ass off, and
Yeah.
unfortunately passed away from being diabetic. I mean, that's
And
what.
nobody was there to like help him. And
Yeah,
so like that is important to me. And so the fact that she was starting to tell these same old stories, the old stories, I was like, hold on. I said, I'm actually a volunteer, and I took a screenshot of it. So I'm going to find it. But I took a screenshot of what I said, and I was like, mm-mm, this is not true. And I don't appreciate. Here she is. Um, and she asked her name is, she's called the Bigfoots.
it's called the Bigfoot.
The Bigfoots
The
is what
Bigfoot.
she goes by on TikTok. And so I said, that's not true. Jim was not a maintenance man. He wasn't a janitor. And so I was like, I'm a volunteer at the hospital, and this is not a true story. And so
Right.
I said my piece, and she did come back and say, thank you. She said, I've heard a lot of different stories about him. And she's like, thank you for coming at me with the real story.
Right.
So I think, and there's a lot of that goes through that people have been involved with the hospital prior to you taking over ownership are still spreading the stories that aren't true. And so I have to give you a lot of cred for like finding the real stories and telling the real stories so that the spirits that are there can feel comfortable and like, okay, yeah, people are actually telling my story now, not some BS that they heard because there was a plantation home that burned down and there were children and all. Like, I'm so grateful that you're telling the real story of the real hospital and not some BS that some attention seekers, for lack of a
Well,
better
and
term.
that unfortunately is kind of what's going on in the paranormal right now. Is that there's a lot of that stuff going on where they're glorifying death and they're glorifying that kind of thing, and we don't need that. I mean, my residents here don't need to be glorified. They're human beings that still have a story to tell, and we want to hear those stories, and we don't want to be running around the hospital saying they're evil or
No,
demonic or whatever. They're, like you said, some of them are just having a shitty day, and they're going to treat you that way, and some of them
Mhm.
yeah,
are having a big day, and they're
I'm
going to
gonna
treat
do that when I'm dead. So you know what? If I'm
you
not
that way.
happy,
Probably more often than
nobody's
not.
gonna
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah. But and you've said before that you feel that they respect that,
Oh yeah.
and that because of coming in a different light, you're seing a difference in the location.
Well, I definitely, I mean, you guys have been here. I mean, Amy's been here. I think, when you came into the hospital prior to my ownership, it was kind of dreadful in here. It's kind of sad, kind of heavy. I think there's still a little bit of that sadness and heaviness in here because it is a hospital.
I mean,
But I
that's
also,
normal.
right, but I think there's a lot more lightheartedness, a lot more play. And I think that all of our residents here have definitely, they all fit in. I think that, there's just, like I said, there could be anywhere from 50 to 60 to 70 residents on any given night in this building. and then there's some nights where you're here and there's one or two, and it's kind of. I really wish I. Some days it was effective, and some. But yeah, kind of amazing.
I mean, it's just like dealing with living people. Some days are like, and then some days are like, if I get one more person that asks me what day it is, what day did I die, why am I here, what year is it? I mean, fuck. I mean, in all. I'm sorry for my language. But in all reality, how many fucking times do you want to be asked that?
I agree. I think the best way to do an investigation is, especially not ask when they died.
No, goddamn, they don't care.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways to do an investigation is just act normal, have a good time, and you.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yep, I agree.
In my experience, and by God, I'm not a professional. I've been doing this for a minute, but no one should ever claim to be a professional. But I can say that I have gotten more reactions and more EVPs from just having a regular conversation.
Oh yeah.
Versus then, who are you? When did you die? What year did you die? Do you know what year it is now? What happened to you? No, they're like, heard that about 14 million times.
Right.
Let's talk about something else. What kind of meat do I like on my sandwich?
What's your favorite ice cream?
What? Yeah, exactly. Like, do you like snacks? Do you like to eat candy? I mean, that kind of shit. Like, that's the shit you're going to get out of me when I die. More so than what year is it? What year did you die? Do you know that you're dead? No, I'm going to be like, hold on.
One thing that made me really do what?
I'm about to blow this up.
Yeah, but one thing that made me realize, and this was early in my journey with the paranormal, was when I recorded someone saying, "Oh my God, I'm dead." And that was one where it sort of took me back a little bit with just how to look at it. There are some that either may not want to face it, they don't know for sure. So why do you need to do that? Especially if you take the stand that ghosts are people. They just no longer have their body. So talk to them like you're talking to a person. Tell me about your family.
Yeah.
I'm going to see my son this weekend. What do you just talk. And I've noticed that instead of
conversations, like you're just like not like it's not like you're drilling them. I feel like sometimes I think we drill them, and they're like.
But have you noticed that? Yeah, have you noticed that you get? I would say, I almost said, you get almost more, but I think I'm going to say you get a decent amount more EVP when you stop the glorified EVP session. When you're just sitting around setting up cameras, you're sitting around talking, and okay, let's take a break for a little bit and just talk. And when you're participating in life is when you get the most parts of I don't know, response. It's like, okay, let's all be ourselves. Let's all just be people here.
I agree.
And it's like when you were saying that you sit down and they sat down beside you and said, glad you're okay.
Right.
And so, it's, I don't know. I think that, and I had a discussion at work today, as a matter of fact, where I had to go into the whole, don't give them that much power. And I didn't mean that in a negative way, but we were talking about, ghost investigations and things like that. And, they were like, ooh, spooky. And I'm like, it's startling. Things that happen are startling because if I came up to you and tapped you on the shoulder, you would just turn around and say, "What do you want?" Or "Why are you touching me?"
Right.
But if someone taps you on the shoulder that you can't see, it's like, "Oh my God, I just got touched." I was like, that's giving it too much power. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just you're taking it to the storylines of the movies and the TV shows and the paranormal shows that are out there now, when that's just a person saying, "Hey, I'm right here. Hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Hey, be careful on that ladder."
They don't just like, and I think that like for Ronnie especially is that, and I'm gonna pick Old South because that's where you are right now, and I think that's where majority of your heart. Yeah, I know where you are. I know exactly. I've had
That's one of
experience
my favorite places
in
in that
that
whole
place
place.
right there. I know where you are, but I know that the spirits respect you, they love you, and they take care of you because you are not there to be like, get out, everybody's gonna get out. No, you're like, hey, I'm just gonna like clean it up and make it better for you and make it so that other people can come here and enjoy it too. But I know from being in those hospitals as a volunteer, um, as a special guest before you owned it. Like I was a special guest there. And prior to that, I was just a hunter, and they learn. It's not that they learn because I'm saying that like we teach them. No, no, no. They eventually come to respect you, and they eventually come to see that what you're doing is not to make them go because obviously they feel comfortable there.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that all these humans that have passed have found a place where they feel comfortable.
And
And I
safe.
think that for all of us, safe. And I think that for all of us, even
Mhm.
as humans, even as living humans right now, we all have a place where we go where we can feel comfortable. And for
Mhm.
some reason, these spirits have found comfort in Ronnie's hospitals, for example. So we go there and we're like, you know what? Hey, and so just like when I walk into any of your hospitals, Ronnie, I am a guest there to them. I am their guest. And I am there as a volunteer, yes, but I am there as a guest to those people. And I'm like, hey, friends. And I think that we should all approach any haunted location like that. And
Agreed.
so
Mhm.
I get a little bit when people go in and like, hey, who's here? You gonna show yourself?
Come at
No.
me, bro.
Because when I die, I'm gonna be diabolical. Not really. Not really, but you know what? If I'm in a place where I feel comfortable, please don't come at me with all your bullshit.
Mhm.
And I think people forget that because Ronnie's hospitals, regardless of how you approach them, but they do treat you like you treat them.
Mhm. What and that's what Rhonda just posted. Um, she's like, with respect you
Yes.
give to the residents, they give back in return.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly
And
true.
and
Absolutely.
so yeah, I mean that sums it all up. And like I said at the beginning, Ronnie, I think that you've done a good job, a commendable job, um, in developing 2 locations now that's paramount.
And you have
Uh,
chosen people to represent you and to represent the hospitals that are actually devoted and see the vision that you have, because it's a vision. I see your
Mhm.
vision. I see your vision to support these old locations that people are going to just forget about. But I also see your vision as a paranormal investigator, as a paranormal podcaster, as a volunteer at both of these hospitals that I equally enjoy and love. Especially South Pittsburgh is a yeah, because
that's
but it's
yeah.
that's what it is.
It,
It's and what you're doing is amazing because you are giving these hospitals and these residents notoriety.
well, they're giving them a stage. Well, not a
Yeah,
stage, but giving them a platform, giving them a place that they can
a
be
voice,
themselves.
Well, I was going to say that's what we want is we
a
want to give
voice.
them a voice. We want to give them a voice. We want them to be able to feel comfortable telling their stories and that kind of a thing. Because I think there are a lot of stories to still be told. I still think, especially in Airman,
Totally.
we're just scratching the surface. I think South Pittsburgh has been around for 20 plus years that people have investigated here, and I still think there's a lot to learn from it.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I think
Exactly.
I think it's really neat because as you guys being volunteers here, we get to do this every day, so it's kind of neat, where our guests come and they only get to do this once in a while, and I think it's really neat that we get to listen to stories and become kind of like spending all that time in Harriman, you get to become part of our residents, like circle of friends, and I know that sounds
Yeah,
Mhm.
really
they recognize you.
No, it's friendship is a good word for that because I think that there's a lot of that. And to me, it's just I don't know. It warms my heart with that
I love it.
because why does that have to end with losing a body? If for whatever reason you don't move on, then to know that there's a place like a place is like you have that they continue to grow friendships and camaraderie and things like that. They're of like mind or around people that are like minded.
I do
Um,
have a question though. So, and this is one thing that really I ponder. So, because I do believe in God. I mean, I think the three of us probably do. Amy and Kevin. I hope obviously, maybe, possibly not. I don't know. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Amy's looking at me like, no. Um, yeah, I'm kind of
No, let's not put that out there.
I'm kind of like my paranormal view is kind of unique because I believe in God and I believe that people have a soul, but I also believe
Oh, I
people
believe
have
that.
energy. I believe people have energy. And
Hmm.
so,
mhm.
and I talk about this all the time when we have guests. They're like, well, you know what makes your building haunted? And I always say the energy of people who passed away. And they look at me like, what does that mean? And I said, well, if you truly believe in Newton's theory, energy can't be created, correct?
That's
Right.
correct. Yeah,
We are
we
100% energy.
destroy energy.
Yes, we are
Our
100%.
meat sacks die, but where does our energy go?
So
Where?
exactly. So when somebody says to me, well, we're chasing demons and we're doing this and we're doing that, I said, no, we're not. I said, because here's the thing in my world, your soul goes to heaven where it belongs, if that's where it's supposed to go. However, your energy is what remains. And why can't we be communicating with that past energy?
Yeah, and I love that. I love that. Mine is similar to that, but because to me there's room for I believe in heaven. I believe in God. I believe, my foundation is a Christian foundation. Now, from that, I
What's
could
so
turn
weird
my
about
camera
this
over
show?
here, and
Like
there's
he's
an
got
altar right there. Um,
like that's
but
the whole like thing is like he comes from this like religious, and I come from like a little bit more of a witchy vibe.
yeah, yeah, To
But
me, the way I describe it is it's similar to what you said. I'll try, and we're running close, so I'll try to make this as quick as
well,
I
we were
can.
late starting, so we might get a couple extra
Yeah,
seconds.
we can get a Stan text me if we got a couple
Please
minutes.
look
But
at it because this is important.
to me, to say that a spirit is still here doesn't take anything away from the concept of going on to heaven. I think for the vast majority of us, it's somewhat instantaneous. Every once in a while, I think that it doesn't necessarily happen that way for whatever reason. We'll never be able to find that. He said, "Take our time." Cool.
Honey, can you move, like, I'm going to point the wrong way, but like move a little bit more. See, I don't know because it's a reflection towards your left. But you slide over just okay. No, you're good. Go back to where you were. Go back to where you were. I just need to see a little bit more. I don't know how to make it perfect. Nope.
The
Go
hallway. Do you want to see the
move your
hallway?
head right. Yeah, there's like
Is that?
something. I'm just watching something. Okay, just I
Oh,
need to
okay.
see more of the hallway.
There we go. But to me, we can't define time frames. In the terms of once we die, everything time becomes a concept that is non-definable. In the terms of eternity, 1,000 years is that amount of time. So if the resonance that you have, for whatever reason, didn't move on right away, that doesn't take away from the fact that that doesn't mean they're away from God, because we're still talking that long. And so they may have seen the light and be like, I still have a story.
Right.
I still have a whatever. So just because they didn't move on doesn't mean that they're away from God. I imagine God up there going, dude, relax. They'll be here in a minute. Meanwhile, you've got 200 years of your hospital with, nurse so and so and doctor so and so and patient so and so and whatever's. And by being general, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying that
Right.
just because they're there right now doesn't take away anything from that belief to me. It's just for whatever reason it didn't happen instantaneously. Free will still exists. And so they're choosing to spend some time with people.
Are you watching the video right here that keeps walking back and forth?
Yeah, that's.
Yep. I'm sorry, Kevin. I love you. But I have
No.
no idea what you
I'm
just said.
trying. I'm trying to see
No
that and
idea
keep
what you
on
just said
topic, but
because
This
I've been
hallway,
watching this.
this
That's
hallway
what
right
I
here,
feel like
the hallway right here, that's ICU. That's going in.
I know exactly. I know
You
exactly.
do, but our listeners may not. So that's
But I
actually
know
the
you're right.
hallway.
So thank you.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
But you do see, so you can see like the silver bars, and you can see
Mhm.
that they're kind of disappearing every once in a while. It looks like there's a
Mhm.
figure that's kind of about that tallish. Yeah.
Yeah.
you just watch.
So that's awesome.
Like, so I'm
That's so
sorry.
cool.
You were very philosophical, and I was watching ghosts.
No, but that's why we're here, is to talk about ghosts and to see go. I mean, he's
I
in
was
the
like,
perfect location to
that's
watch
why I
for
was
him.
like,
So,
Ronnie, I was like, oh, I'm gonna
but
need you to maybe.
but yeah, it's, and so to me, it could be any combination thereof. But that doesn't take away from anything.
No.
I agree.
And
But I'm
because
gonna
we're
like
assuming we
preface
know in
this
it,
for just a
huh?
second. I'm gonna just preface this. This area that is behind Ronnie right now, this doorway, like I'm using the pointer. Yes, where he's pointing right now, that is into ICU. Okay. And then also next to that is elevators that obviously are not in I was gonna say production. I don't think that's the right word. Anyway, and then behind him
Operation.
is the nurse's station, the second floor nurse's station. And there's quite a bit, and I, even before Ronnie took the hospitals over, yes, had quite a few experiences at this particular place. Although at that point it had carpet and carpet fresh sprayed with bleach, and it was overpowering. But I did have experiences there. But now, no. Did
But
you
no,
freeze on me? That was creepy. Like you froze for a second, and like I was like, huh? Anyway, this specific area
just wiggle your
is
eyebrows. We'll know you're still.
this this one is like this area particular for me has always been a hot spot. So for those of you that are listening, please, if you want an investigation, sign up. You can do a day tour if you don't want to do like a full on like scary paranormal night tour. It's not scary. But if you were scared, you could ask for me to be your tour guide.
And I was going to
And
say, Amy volunteers here, so if you want to come and do your investigation, Amy's a
please,
volunteer.
yeah,
Yep,
do it with me. You can do
And
it with me.
I'll be back being a volunteer too. So
Kevin's coming back.
But me, yeah, you can do it with me. And listen, if I'm running, you should run too, because there's very few things that I actually run from. I'm more like, hold on, I gotta get my camera, or hold on, I need something. Like,
unless he's sleeping.
huh? Unless
What?
I'm sleeping.
Sweeping in a zigzag.
Unless
Sweep
I
it.
happen to be actually alone, and sleeping and doing my thing, and then there was this screaming. It was a
Well,
loud
screaming is
scream.
disheartening no matter what. So
And I was just sweeping, listening to music, blah blah blah, doing my best thing, and snow was coming in. I could tell by the clouds, and then the screaming, and I was like, oh hi, okay. Just remember, I'm just a friend. I'm like, I'm the hello friends. We'll have hugs. I'm gonna hug all the things, and we're gonna have a good time. Don't scream at me in the
good luck.
dark.
It's kind of hard to tell because he froze, though.
He did freeze, but I'm not looking to where he was originally pointing. Not there. Other way. Yeah. I mean, it's just happening behind you. But like, I
Just
think
lay
that,
down on the couch. We'll do the rest of the show without you.
do you feel like when you're there that you have more things happen to you? Do you think, because I think the spirits are attached to you because of obviously what you've done to, do you have a lot of things happen when you're there?
Off and on. You know, I think I have about as much luck as any other investigator would have coming in. There's some days where it's crazy, and there's some days where it's like, hello, where is everybody? So
Yeah, really.
it's either way. Sometimes it's more active for me than others, and sometimes it's, not happening.
Do you have a certain area that's more active for you?
Oh, did I lose you guys?
No.
No, we're here.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a
I think
certain area that's more active for you?
me, the second floor nurses station where I'm at is pretty active for me. But then, the legendary shadow hallway seems to be. That's kind of my place. I like shadow hallway. That's just
I
my.
do too. I do too.
Oh, we lost Amy.
Wow. Well, okay. So she leaned over and just vanished. Do you notice that? So, but do you have in your experience there, be it before you came or since you took over in any of the hospitals, do you have a favorite story?
No, they're all my favorite stories. So we can do a whole nother show on all of that stuff. I mean,
On just the stories, just tell us
yeah,
stories.
I could tell you a story. I mean, I don't share a whole lot. Most of the stuff I keep to myself because most people would look at me and go, "Yeah, you're lying," or "Yeah, I don't believe that." And you know what? I don't blame people for that.
Not at all.
But being here as much as I am and walking the halls, whether it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the evening, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock, I guess, in the morning, weird things happen. I mean, and it
Mhm.
happens frequently, with doors opening and closing. I've sound of like furniture being across the floor. I've heard it all. I mean, and sometimes it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes it's midnight. It's just all over the place. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think probably the neatest, I think, when you're here is when you get to see a full body apparition, or something that actually takes human shape. I think that's kind of neat because it's really unbelievable, and you
I
kind
don't know what happened.
of she's back.
Well, welcome back.
That's what's really cool. And there's times where I walked down the hallway with somebody else with me, and we saw somebody coming at us, and actually kind of stepped out of the way. And then we both look at each other like, wait a minute here. We're the only ones in the building. What the hell are we doing? Then you turn around and look the other day and there's nobody there. But we both saw, this person approaching us, this plain as day, because we both got out of the way, to kind of move
Huh?
out of their way because they're coming at us. And so,
Yeah. It just feels natural
yeah,
that, you're meeting somebody in a hallway. So step out of the way. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute.
we're the only two here. What's going on?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
If you're
No, that's
speaking of the
incredible.
hallway that's behind you right now,
Uh-huh.
I have been, prior to you owning the hospital, I have been followed down that hall all the way down to Shadow Hall
Ugh,
and stopped multiple times to look to see if someone was behind me. And knowing that everybody else was outside in the ER bay,
right.
and at that point, because that's where you for investigations, whatever, But I knew everybody was outside, but I still stopped and turned around and was like, "Hello," and I stopped, maybe to let them pass or maybe to let them whatever, and they just kept walking.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. We've even done it when we had public investigations. And the rest of the group is at this end of the hallway, and we're kind of, shadowing the group to make sure the group stays together. And
Mm-hmm.
I was here, we were here one night. We swear that we saw somebody leave the group and walk down the hallway, and Brooke looks at me and goes, "You're going to go get that customer, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I turn around to go chase the customer down the hallway, and there's no customer in the hallway. When I come back and she's looking at me like, "There's nobody there." I'm like, "No, there's nobody there." And we're both well, we both saw him. I mean, as plain as day. We see him leave and walk away from the group and walk down
Yes.
the hallway. And like, if it was just me, I probably would have wrote it off as maybe a little indigestion, or I don't know, something. But
Just bad
yeah,
hot dog, right?
we
Just a
both
little gas. Had
yeah we
some gas. I thought I saw a ghost, but it was just gas.
we both saw it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ronnie, do you have, before we wrap up, do you have anything? There's two things that I want to cover real quick before we go.
Sure.
One is how people can find you, in the two hospitals, and the other is, do you have anything coming up?
We are sold out for this month. I think we've got a couple of spaces left on August 12th at Harriman. And then we're a first time ever. This will be the year we're doing actually a Halloween evening ghost hunt. And I think we're about 50% full. I think Amy said she's coming up
Really?
that day, right, Amy?
Oh, holy crap! Okay,
Halloween.
Is she waving
you
it up?
you said I can come back,
Yeah.
right?
Halloween.
I'm
Halloween. Halloween. Halloween.
I think Amy will be here Halloween Eve. I think that
Like,
was a Thursday, I think.
yeah,
So that
because you know what? I don't want to spend my heartbreak Halloween alone. I'm gonna come and have friends, and all my
yeah,
friends at
I
the
may have to be
hospital. I
there
love
too.
them.
yep, come
Can't
on
wait.
down. I think it's going to be fun.
Wear
I think
costumes.
now we're about halfway sold out. So I think we got a couple
Will we
more
wear
weeks to sell the rest of
costumes?
the tickets. You can if you want. I know we were talking about it. So if you want, I might dress up as a doctor, a nurse, or maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll just put one of the gowns on and let my ass hang out and be running down the hallway with one of the
Surprise!
Wouldn't be the first time.
Hold on. Do you need a wig? I got a wig so you can look like a mannequin.
There you go.
You know, so we can put a mannequin wig on you. Anyways.
Right.
So and that is that is Halloween, folks. So if you're listening, you want something to do for Halloween,
come on down.
Come on down.
Or in your case, come on up.
I'm coming up. Yeah.
Yep. Or over.
Or over.
I'm coming up. Yeah. Up, over, round, whatever the fuck you want to do. Come on.
However you gotta get here.
Yeah. And also,
Just
do you have any
like
go ahead and tell us any other public things you have going on?
That's it for October. I think November. I don't know what we got in November. Let's take a look. Let me pull up the old calendar. I think November. We have a public investigation on the 23rd at Harriman.
In November.
November 23rd. Yes.
Okay.
At Harriman.
That's amazing, y'all. Check it out.
Yeah,
but again,
what's really, really important is our winter sale started. So if you want to rent OSPH or Harriman on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, it's 50% off. You get to come from 7 to 3. You get 8 guests, and it's 50% off. It's a pretty good deal.
Do that, y'all.
That's a really good deal.
It's so worth it. It's so worth it. Yeah, and especially if you can save a little bit of money, take a day off and go do some cool shit.
Get down.
But Kevin's having an issue. But again, if you're interested and you want to do any of these events, you can actually as weird as I am, if you want me to be your tour guide, I can at either of these locations. I can do that. Or I can give you someone else that you might like better. But again, this is my thing. I love both these hospitals, Ronnie. We can't wait to see what the future has in hold for both these hospitals. Or anyway.
Perfectly timed.
All right, so we're gonna end the show, but again, if you have any interesting questions, if you want to know anything else, if you want to go on a tour, if you want any kind of a tour, please reach out to me. Please reach out to our Facebook page, Wicked Paranormal Radio. I'll be glad to hook you up, even if you don't want me to be your tour guide. But check us out. We love y'all. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.